Hi there, my name is Taryn and this is conjuredcraft. Now in a recent video I mentioned how I was put onto a skirmish game called Dead Gods, and this game caught my attention for a couple of reasons, which is saying something because generally speaking I'm not a fan of war games. So for one thing, the lore. It is an interesting premise. It's not restrictive the way that some other games tend to be. By that which I mean it's loose enough that you can play around in the space and sort of, do your own thing with it. Two, all the rules, the important rules for the game fit on a sheet of paper, which is huge for me to have a game with rules that are just simple to understand and you can just jump in and start playing. And three, the art. I am a magpie swooping at shiny things and it's using bright colors, so I love it. Also, this video isn't sponsored or anything like that. It's just given me this burst of creative energy. I think it's a cool game, and so it's only right that I share some of the love with the creator Scott from Trollish Delver Games. So in this video, I just wanted to share some tips, some things that I learned while making my war cult for Dead Gods, but you could easily apply any of this to your favorite skirmish game, from Mordheim to Warcry, for example. But with that, let's get into it. Now, all the pre-written cults for Dead Gods have some excellent lore behind them, but I've decided to go with the Black Maw. Centuries ago, the Black Maw discovered a creature who rise within the pit. They believe by feeding the pit creature relics, it will emerge as a new and terrible god under their control. You can probably see why I was immediately drawn to this group. In my mind, the followers of the Black Maw gain power, they gain favor the more they feed the pit, the more relics that they discover and throw into it. They even start to take on the appearance, certain facets of the creature itself. And so I wanted them to have an otherworldly alien look to them. To achieve this look, I'm mostly using some alien miniatures from the District 9 board game. And I'll add on some details to each model to ground them as members of the cult later on. For this video, we'll be focusing on my peasant unit, as it ended up being the most work overall, despite being the quote-unquote weakest unit of the cult. But here, you can see all of our cult members in a lineup. Now that we have a firm grasp on the story of our warband, we need to kitbash with purpose. As my peasant is the most recent convert in this cult, they're going to have the least alien appearance of all the members. Just a head swap so that thematically it matches the rest of the minis. To show their reverence to the Black Maw, the peasant mini is going to have a St. Andrew's cross on their back with a captured wizard attached to it. This spellcaster is going to be paraded around as a warning to those who would oppose the cult until such an appropriate time to feed him to the pit. Focusing on story-based conversions for every single unit, even your grunts, you're gonna have much more interesting characters, much more interesting minis, and a very cool story to share with people when you actually go and play a game. Once we have all of our rough kit bashing done, you need to do some sculpting. I know this won't be as popular with some of you, but you need to get an epoxy clay of some kind and start practicing your sculpting if you don't already. The fact of the matter is that I would not have been able to complete these conversions without doing some sculpting. No matter how finely I cut each part, no matter how well I line up the joins, I'm using some drastically different models, drastically different pieces, and so you need at least some clay to join them together. This is also incredibly helpful when you want to turn your captured wizard into a slug wizard. I know that clay is expensive, And so I would recommend working in small batches to get up to the result that you're after and making sure that none of that clay goes to waste. If you have any leftover clay after mixing up a batch, we're going to use it in the next step. And that, my friends, is custom bases. I personally can tend to forget to give my bases some love when working on models, especially when I was spoiled for choice and had a bunch of different ready-made basing materials. However, I want this cult to be very unique from anything else I have on display at the moment. Using a custom texture stamp and my leftover clay, I pressed out this weird sci-fi looking terrain, and now I'm using them to haphazardly add some texture onto my bases. Any leftover space that we don't quite cover with our custom texture pieces, I'm going to cover in baking soda and super glue to give a more generic sand desert kind of effect. Sort of like this alien texture is poking up through the dirt in some places. The green stuff terrain is going to paint up really nicely later on, and I've got one more trick to make these bases really pop. Hi there, quick note from me, Editor Taryn. If you like indie games, if you like game supplements, if you like weird art in general, I've made a book, I've made a handout for any game you're running right now, any fantasy setting that you're playing in. It is called the Catalog of Chaotic Commodities. In short, it is 2 D100 tables, 100 items, 100 spell effects, and you can make 10,000 possible magic items with it. If you're curious and you want to see some more, I made a short video about it, but in short, I worked really hard on it. I'm very proud of it, and if you're curious, if you want to check it out, maybe if you want to buy it, that would make me very happy, and I would be able to pay my bills. So, thank you. Now, my last tip for this video is really for me more than it is for you, and that's to have fun while painting. This one's gonna seem pretty obvious, but you want some similarities in how you paint any warband. However, I think for the purposes of wargaming, you should take this step even further. I recently attended an event called Bring Out Your Lead, and there was a massive Necromunda board where there was like, I think 12 different people playing all at the same time. Chaos, basically. Tons of warbands going around the table. Having brightly colored, coordinated models really helps you stand out not only against the competition, but on the table itself. As a spectator, I really enjoyed being able to pick out people's models in an instant just because they had more interesting paint schemes. Now, this may make you a more shiny target in some cases, but at least you'll burn brightly before the end. I specifically went out and bought some neon acrylic paints for this project as I wanted the paint scheme on these characters to be an homage to the bright colors of the game that inspired me in the first place. Also, these aren't glow-in-the-dark paints, but the neon yellow that I painted on the bases actually gave it a kind of glow-in-the-dark effect in daylight, which was an unintended but really welcome effect. So thank you for checking out this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Please do let me know what you thought of my take on the Black Maw in the comments down below, or just what you thought of the video and my tips about making your own war cult. If you'd like to support me or Scott from the Trollish Delver Games, please check out all the links in the description below. Everything you need to know is there. Also, there's already some expansions available for Dead Gods from Scott's itch account, so please be sure to check that out and support independent creators where you can. Finally, if you'd like to see a much longer version of this video where I go more into the process of each individual unit and how I'm converting them, that is available on my Patreon if you would like to join our coven. Until next time, bye!